Hi everyone, my name is Danielle and welcome to Board Game Bakes. This week we're going to focus on Vivid Memories, which is a new game produced by Floodgate Games. This is kind of a combination of things that I really want to create and board games I really love, because I'm from Pittsburgh, PA, which has Prantl's Bakery, which is delicious. One of my favorite cakes is called the Burnt Almond Torte, and it's what they're known for. And actually when I got married, I had a version of this cake, so it's very close to my heart, and I've always wanted to recreate it, so obviously I didn't get the recipe. But the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette had their version of the recipe, and we're going to try and recreate that, except give it a board game twist, of course. So, let's get started. Woo! Let's begin with our homemade yellow cake. This is a double batch. Start by creaming 3 sticks of unsalted butter at room temperature with 2 2/3 cup of sugar. Now add 2 teaspoons vanilla extract to 6 large room temperature eggs and mix. Now, I didn't have cake flour, so instead I removed 2 tablespoons of flour per cup and substituted that with cornstarch. So for this recipe, I measured 4 2/3 cup of flour, I removed 9 tablespoons, and then I added back the 9 tablespoons but as cornstarch. You then also add half a teaspoon of salt and 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Give the dry ingredients a good mix together, and then sift it twice to make sure it's very airy. Back to the mixer. Slowly add your egg mixture over about a 2-minute period. Finally, alternate adding your flour mixture and 2 cups of buttermilk. It should be dry, wet, dry, wet, dry. If you don't have buttermilk, you could add 1 tablespoon of white vinegar into a measuring cup and fill it to the 1 cup line. So obviously here I used 2 tablespoons of vinegar and filled up to the 2 cup line. You want to let it sit for at least 5 minutes, and then you can use that quantity instead of the buttermilk. Once everything is nice and mixed together, but not mixed too much, divide the batter between 2 13x9 pans that have been lined with parchment paper and sprayed with cooking spray. Bake at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 25 to 30 minutes, or until a toothpick comes out of the center clean. Let it cool completely before frosting and cutting. Now for our fluffy butter and cream frosting. I did a single batch based on the description on the website, but the cake could have benefited from at least another half batch of icing. For a single batch, cream 5 tablespoons of unsalted butter at room temperature. Once that's nice and smooth, add in a 1/3 cup sweetened condensed milk and a 1/3 cup of heavy cream. When that's blended, add in 2 1/2 cups of powdered sugar and mix until it's nice and light and fluffy, which is about 1 to 2 minutes. Onto our custard filling. This is very similar to the filling for a Boston cream pie. Heat 1 cup of whole milk in a pan until very hot. Quickly add in a 1/2 cup sugar, 3 tablespoons of flour, and an 1/8 teaspoon of salt, and stir briskly until it gets thick. While still stirring, add in 2 beaten egg yolks, and continue to stir over medium-low heat for about 5 minutes. Remove from the heat, and I poured it through a sieve, so this way you could trap in the rogue egg bits. Add 1 1/2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and stir it in, and then also stir occasionally while it cools down. Once it's cooled down enough, cover it and refrigerate it until you're ready to assemble your cake. I did not wind up needing all the almonds in this recipe, so you could probably do a half batch. But in this video, you combine 1 pound of sliced, or slithered if you run out of sliced, almonds. You mix out with 1 1/2 ounces of water and 10 ounces of coarse baking sugar. Then divide the mixture into 5 small bowls. Use food gel to dye the almonds blue, yellow, red, green, and purple. Spread the almonds onto a baking sheet lined with parchment paper and bake at 325 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 minutes. Try not to eat too many of them as they come out of the oven. Last piece before we put it all together, the vivid board topper, which is kind of important since it's the focus point of our cake. Take some store-bought or marshmallow fondant and roll it out to a 1/4 inch thickness. You want it to be sturdy enough to transfer onto the top of the cake. I used a Cricut machine to cut out the image of the player board. Then you use a knife to cut out the outline of all the hexagons in the middle and the general shape. Let it harden for a little bit before using your airbrush. Time for my favorite part, whipping out my airbrush machine. Mwahaha. The hexagons on the board are white, so the lightest color is actually the outline of the center shape. Spray that a light pink color. The rest of it is just spraying increasingly dark layers of a reddish purple to the border. Time to whip out some royal icing. I made you enough baking to just have it sit in the fridge. Use the icing to add the colored lines around the board, the circles for the score markers, and the memory slots. You can also outline the memory fragment slots on the board to make it pop. At this point, you can use a knife to adjust the hexagon shapes. Some of mine didn't really cut out as well. Once your royal icing has dried, you're ready for the finishing touches. Use edible markers to color the blobs around the board and add the remaining details, including how many points certain slots are worth. Now we're ready to put it together. Start by using the same template you made for the decorations to make a cardboard cutout to place under the cake. You then use the same stencil to cut the shape out on both of your cakes. You can save your leftover bits for making cake pops in the future. Next, use your frosting to outline the top of one of the cakes. Fill in the outline with the tasty curd. Put the top layer gently on top of this and place it in the fridge so that it can set before moving on. Once it's had time to set a bit, apply a thin layer of icing on the whole cake. I had just enough icing to cover the cake, but if I made again, I would have made at least another half batch to have a better cake to icing balance. Time for the finishing touches. Take all of your different almond colors and mix them together so that it kind of looks like a large bowl of fruity pebbles. Remove some of them to be used as memory fragments on the top of the cake. While the icing from your final coat is still tacky, take handfuls and apply it all around the edge of the cake. Fit as much as you can. They're so tasty. Place the game board fondant piece on top. You can then take some additional almonds to fill in any exposed frosting on the cake for added yum. The final touch. Take some of the slithered almonds and fill in the hexagons like actual memory fragment tiles in the game. Ta-da! Thanks for watching another episode of Board Game Bakes. Now it's time for the best part. Eating the food. Delicious. As I said, this is one of my favorite cakes, so I was really excited to find a use for it. I like that it has the crunch from the almonds and it has the sweetness from the cake, but overall I wouldn't say that it's too sweet, even with the fondant on top. But I want to give some thoughts on Vivid too. Vivid Memories. The game just came out, or is about to come out soon, and in the game you have different objectives. You're able to put these little memory tokens on the game, and you're trying to connect the different memories across your brain. I think that it took me a little while to get some of the rules, but it didn't take my husband that long because he creamed me the first game we played. So I'm excited to give it some more tries and more plays, but either way, the artwork is beautiful. This is the same company that made Sagrada, which is also a gorgeous game. So at this point, you just know this Floodgate Games has some beautiful artwork. If you're interested in the game, please click the link below and tune in next Tuesday for a new episode. Keep playing games and keep them sweet. Bye!